Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Now, why did Wargaming do things that they have done? So we're going to have a look at a few nerfs, and one thing that's really kind of annoyed me and annoyed a few people, something little, but it is so annoying, which we will see at the end. A couple of things actually, but as you can see here, the E5 and the Kranvagn have received big nerfs. The rate of fire on the E5, the reload time, the turret traverse, and of course the DPM has dropped on the E5, and the Kranvagn a little bit of HP less, not too much to be honest, 150, and the turret traverse speed has gone from 29 to 16. How has this affected these tanks? Now honestly, on paper it doesn't feel like a big nerf, but when playing the tanks they do feel sluggish. Like the E5 especially feels a lot sluggish, and honestly it's going to be a complete change of meta. It will be a complete change of meta. Medium meta is coming back. The medium meta is back, and I don't mind that. I really don't mind that. We have to, I know people don't like nerfs on tanks that they like, but you know, Wargaming do this all the time. They've buffed the medium tanks, they've nerfed the heavies. In the future they'll probably buff the TDs, or they'll buff the heavies again and nerf the medium tanks. It is what they do to change the meta of the game. Instead of it being a completely heavy meta, they have now changed it, so it is still both. I mean, there is still, you can still play the heavies. The heavies are still strong as fuck, but the mediums, they've just made the medium tanks a lot more stronger, especially some medium tanks, which we will look at future videos. So the Kranvagn is, it was the strongest tank anyway, and I honestly think it did need a nerf. Was it the right nerf? I mean, playing the Kranvagn, even the slightest of nerfs, and that's the traverse, the turret traverse, I honestly think has made a big difference. It doesn't feel as strong as it was with that quick turret traverse and etc, and the little bit of HP that it's lost. I think it's enough, you know. I think honestly this nerf is enough. You still have the auto reloading mechanism, which is what makes this tank insane anyway. So it still has that, so it hasn't lost that. It hasn't lost DPM. It can't lose DPM because the DPM is poor on the tank anyway. But these kind of tanks, it's not about DPM, it's about the mechanism, that, you know, the auto reloading system. Do you fire one shell, or do you fire all three, or do you reload all three, or just reload one and take it out? I always say, if you've got a shot, take it. It doesn't matter if you've got one shell in your chamber or two shells. If you've got that shot, take it. Just like we're here. We are with the chieftain, you know, we had one shell or two shells, and we're going to take them, and no point reloading. And exactly the same here, we're going to reload one shell and we're going to take that shot. So I don't think the Kranvagn has changed massively, but I do think the nerf was enough. I think it was enough. Anything more, then I don't think that tank would be worth playing. Now the E5, however, it has received quite a big bunch of nerfs. I just think, I mean, you're going to see it this game, they haven't really touched the reverse or the speed, but it feels sluggish to me. It doesn't feel like the E5. Going forward, okay, is not too bad, but reversing it just seemed really slow. And I know Wargaming hasn't touched it, but you can see here, like, look, the turret traverse, it just seems like really slow. And of course they have nerfed the extra speed boost as well, so that don't go as fast, which I think it needed that. People or tanks with that extra speed boost had an advantage anyway, because not every tank can have that speed boost, which I do find it quite unfair how some tanks have that speed boost where some tanks haven't got that speed boost, especially tanks like the E5 that never really needed that speed boost anyway. Tanks like the FV4005, I think, comes in handy to have that speed boost, and even the Kranvagn comes in handy to have that speed boost because it is a very slow tank, but when you've got that speed boost, it does make it a little bit nicer to play for a short period of time. So having nerfed the extra speed boost, I think was a good thing, to be honest. Now all I'd like to see is more tanks to have that speed boost. As I said, I think it's a little bit unfair how certain tanks can have that speed boost and certain tanks can't. Yes, of course, you're going to have tanks like the light tanks and the things like the grill. Yeah, I think they will be kind of OP with that speed boost. But there are some tanks as it is, like the E5, the FE215B, and stuff like that that has that speed boost, doesn't really need it. Tanks like the E100 maybe could deal with having it. Maybe it'd be too strong, I don't know. Or couple of TDs, maybe the WZ113G maybe good to have that speed boost. I don't really know. I don't really know what would be OP with that speed boost, but I just think it is unfair how some tanks have got that speed boost. But you can see here, like the Traverse here, it's just taking forever to turn that turret, and I'd honestly think if you're in the open, even now in an E5, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle against those medium tanks. If they come and chase you and get around you, you really are going to struggle to be able to stop that, unless you've got hard cover. And do I think it's a good change? Honestly, yeah, I do think it is a good change, because it is bringing in a different meta. We have had the heavy meta for quite some time now, and again, Wargaming are just changing it up a bit, and I like that. I do like the fact that they are changing the meta. When we had Tankfest a few years ago, in a meeting with Wargaming and the community, they did ask us about how we felt about changing the meta, and everyone said, yeah, it's a good idea. But when it actually comes to it, and they nerf the tanks that are in meta, people seem to complain a lot, and that is what people need to get out of. They're not just nerfing the tank because it needs nerfing. They're nerfing the tanks because they just want to change the meta, which is totally understandable. However, the tanks still perform. They still perform. The E3, the E5 still performs as it is. It's just a little bit slower. The reload is like, what, you get 1 second off your added onto your reload, which is not massive, to be honest. It still has the armor profile, it still has the front speed, it still has the speed boost, and it can still perform well in game. Here, I mean, it was a nice easy 4.5k damage, or 4.7k damage by the time we get there. So yeah, I do think that Wargaming done this just to change the meta, which they have. They've said it, and that's a good thing. What I don't like, what Wargaming has pissed me right off, is this. At the end of the battle, as soon as you kill the last tank, that is it. It stops. And a lot of people will think, okay, that's nothing. Well, it is, because for 6 years now, it seems to be a usual thing. Everyone does it. Battle result finishes, you end, you press affirmative. Just why not? You can't do that no more. And I think Wargaming did that to stop the bullshit at the end that people say at the end of the game. They can't say that no more, but they can still say it just before the last tank is dead. But it's kind of annoying, you know. It doesn't really mean anything, but you know, it's just got into a routine where the battle finishes, you win, everyone presses affirmative. It's just a routine, you know. It's something little that Wargaming has now stopped, so you can no longer press affirmative when the last tank is dead. Another thing that Wargaming really pissed me off about, as soon as they updated the game, I couldn't play the game. My tank was going everywhere. What they didn't tell you, and I've seen a few people moan about it, they didn't tell you that they are adding this new control. And if you go down at the bottom, they got the tank auto turn. If you don't turn that off, whatever your camera angle is facing, your tank will face. Whether or not you control it to go that way, you press forward, it goes back. It's really annoying. So guys, make sure you turn that off. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I'm Meadsy. Get subscribing, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye. With